Anyway, which countries in Asia or have the most conservative goals?
Japan and Korea.
Yeah, I piggyback on that. Japan, Korea, for sure. Yeah, the most Eastern
They're,
Asian
they're like
countries.
two big outliers. They're like way more conservative
Yeah,
than all the other
I agree.
countries.
Well, I was gonna say like probably like Pakistan would probably be pretty bad, or like a lot of the like Muslim countries and Arab countries would probably be like if you count Saudi Arabia and Asia, then like pretty fucking bad, dude. You know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Good
good point.
point.
I,
We
I
don't
imagine like the Middle East would be more severe, but in Japan, like it's not a Muslim population, it's more Shinto and Buddhist. I don't know what those teach exactly, but I imagine it's not as strict in terms of marriage and relationships.
Yeah, I think like the India and Pakistan would be definitely more conservative when it comes to approach and getting laid. I think like I have been to some Asian country like I've just been to Thailand, so uh, they are not that conservative, and Japan is also like not that much. But Pakistan is definitely like more conservative if we can't count Pakistan in Asian country. Or India is also, in India I will say the North India is more conservative. The girls are more conservative. The south side, like Mumbai side, which there the girls are more open, and approach to sex kind of stuff can happen much more in the south part of India, especially the Mumbai area, Mumbai Goa area. So they are they are more open to this thing. And north side is slightly more conservative.
But we
We should have had Shitesh from Iron Man Lifestyle jump on because I think he's based in New Delhi, and
Yeah.
I mean his channel's at 500,000 subscribers now, and I know he's crushing it. I know he's doing really well. He's helping a lot of guys, so I mean he probably have a really interesting take on this.
Mhm.
are we talking about
I gotta. Oh yeah,
guys
go ahead.
want to go visit or just who's the most conservative?
What are you saying?
Are we talking about countries just the most conservative as a whole, or just like countries that
Uh,
guys visit for dating?
Yeah, let me
Right.
let me double up on this question. So the next question, very similar. So some Asian cultures are very conservative. How can this be navigated for dating in general? But let's focus on this from the perspective of an Asian guy first, rather than some random American tourist just going to Thailand, because I think it's going to be more important for Asians to learn from this.
So I think I actually live in Korea, right? So I actually learned from there's a guy named, I think he's still teaching. So he calls it Pick Up Asia. He's a black guy teaching game in Korea. And then I met Korean pickup artists. So it all depends, right? And I think as a foreigner in Korea, you gotta learn to speak Korean a little bit. I think Korea is an interesting country where they don't speak English as well. But I'm talking about like if you want to date like the local Koreans, right? The girls who really, I personally think the locals are the most pretty, but there's also obviously the Korean Americans and everything like that. But I think learning a little bit Korean is good. Or I call it like learn how to connect. I think as an Asian guy, it's actually easier because you can connect with the culture, especially if you're a Korean American guy or a Korean guy going to that country. I think same thing with Japan. I think Mike was saying it right, dude. Japan was hard. I remember just like cold approaching and like I would say the most brutal rejections for me were in Korea, where girls like you approach them, they don't even notice you. They just like literally walk past, like not even acknowledging you exist sometimes. But it's kind of fun because the volume's really high there. Just, I mean, you can call it what it is, plastic surgery or whatever, but there's a lot of attractive girls in Korea, at least in my eyes, right? So, but they do have a lot of attitude. I think Max came out to Korea for a bit, and he gamed there too, but he actually went out with the local pickup guys in Korea. But Korea is also very aggressive. Like the club game, I mean, we call it like we just pull them in. We literally stand on tables and we just pull. So it's like it's different. The club girls are actually not conservative. So you could actually do one night stand game pretty easy in Korea if you are very dominant. And there's no talking because the clubs are really loud. But if you want to date someone and have a girlfriend, now that's different. Now you got to show them like you're not going to just leave the country because Korea actually doesn't like it when you're just going to leave the country anyways. But if you kind of tell them you come back, and actually tell the truth. And I think comfort helps a lot if you're trying to have a girlfriend in Korea. But if you're just trying to do one night stand, just go clubbing once in Korea. It's fun. It's kind of a very different, aggressive approach that you haven't seen.
What
If you want to get approach
Yeah.
anxiety, go to K-Town. Go to all Korean club. That'll fix your aim real quick.
So the question is like, the question is here, the conservative, the culture is conservative, or the toughness of the game, because that's interesting. Because if we say like the toughness of the game, then the language will be the issue. So when it comes to approaching girls in India, then like you don't need to learn Hindi language. So the communication will be easier, but due to culture, it can be a bit tough to get laid. So in Korea or in Japan, it can happen that due to the language issue, the game will be tougher, but due to culture, which will be still slightly open than Indian culture, so you can still get laid. So what I have heard, I was in Japan, but I was not into game at that time. I mean, we're talking about 2004, so I was not even in Europe. So so what I have learned, what my this friend told me, that like you can get laid like six, when you like, you know, like in Japan, in Tokyo, like 6.5, 7 max. But when you want to go for 8 plus, then you definitely need to have Japanese language, because they are getting approached from everyone, and they are very, very tough, even for foreigners. Even if this European card, it do not work. Like you have to be really good in Japanese language, then you can get laid. But for like, you can get laid with six around, like with some level of Japanese, some Google Translate. So sex is easier, but the language will be the issue. In Pakistan, I mean, I like, you know, like it is where I'm not like, you know, how you will be cold approach on the street, it will be tough. But if you speak in English language, then some girls will be like, just when you speak in English language in India also, they will be impressed. But it doesn't mean that you will get laid immediately. Make sense?
So something I've seen a lot of guys say about India in particular is, well, for example, arranged marriages, you can't book a hotel room without showing a marriage certificate or something like that. All kinds of things. So I don't know
It can
what kind of
happen.
question to ask, but
But it is like, it is people still, there are some, like I have one student who is having this issue of that they want to see the ID, they want to have the ID of the girl if they want to book a hotel. uh, I think that they are slightly more advanced now. So he's in Mumbai. If you land up in a like a wrong hotel, it can happen. They will try to trick you, and you know, some involve some kind of police or something, and try to extort money in that way. It can happen, but now it is fading away. Like this open sex kind of culture is slightly coming in India also, slowly. So it, like for example, when I was in India, I could not imagine that I would be taking a girl to a hotel and just like for like, you know, sleeping with her. 2003, 2004, 5, 6. So now time has changed, but you can, it is not like, it is not open like in you know, in Europe or in USA. So that slightly conservative culture is there.
A quick travel hack. Usually when you travel, I would recommend not booking like a place for 2 weeks, especially for somewhere new, especially if you don't know the logistics. I would say book it for like 2 or 3 days. If things are out of whack or you can't pull, you have the opportunity to book somewhere else, right? Especially like I've seen guys where they go to same thing in Vietnam. Sometimes it can be anal with hotels, right? You don't want to go somewhere and then you lock yourself in for 2 weeks and then you can't back out of that. location. So I usually just book 1 or 2 days, test it out. And if it works great, I'll extend it. If not, I'll just find a new place.
I
Another
like
way
the
to
sound of anal hotels. So
Another way
Hey,
to, I feel like, circumvent the whole conservative is, I mean, you guys know all the dating apps, right? You can use passport mode or DMs. So what I do is I test it out, right? I change it to passport mode. You got Bumble, Tinder, and every country usually has those two. Hinge is more like Western, but then you also got Raya, right? If you get onto Raya, I mean, Bollywood has some stunning women on Raya, but basically you hit them up and they'll ask you, oh, how long you're staying. So right off the bat, they're trying to like set up a wall if you say you're leaving soon. So what I try to do is I usually go through DMs. And also another thing is you could do Instagram game, right? You search, I mean, it's like a secret, but I think actually everyone knows that is just find the hot spot, right? Everyone does their research, look for a hot club, look at all the girls who have tagged pictures, message each one of them, see which one's DTF, right? Because they're already clubbing, and then see if they're like kind of like conservative or they're trying to have fun. But usually, I think you'll always find a girl. It's not focusing on, I think it's kind of like what we said about limiting beliefs, right? If we focus on the whole general population, then yeah, you're going to kind of create that conservative girls to come to you. But you start searching out some girls who are more open-minded. I mean, especially in India, right? There's billions of people. China, like there's billions, right? That's 51 million people. So try the DM game, try Instagram. That's why I still like, I'm pushing for social media because I think that's a new way to connect yourself to the world and then find like specific women who are, because let's be honest, if Drake goes to a country, you think he's gonna find conservative girls, or the conservative girls are gonna turn all liberal for him, right? So it's all perspective. I mean,
I like
that's true.
that.
Yeah, gotta be Drake.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Danny was saying. Definitely, there are also going to be a lot of conservative girls and girls that are going to turn liberal if they find the right person. Just like we always know that girls are always going to make exceptions for the guys that they like. So sometimes they're like, hey, I don't do this or whatever, but the guy that she likes, she'll do whatever for. And I'm a huge proponent of the mindset. So understanding that, I grew up, the place that I'm from has a lot of Muslim population and a lot of mixed people. So like they're not supposed to drink, they're not supposed to smoke, they're not supposed to have sex before marriage, but certain people do because they make exceptions. And I know this girl personally, she went to Cairo, Egypt, and she married a guy to have sex with him in Egypt. And she was only there for 2 weeks and got divorced after she came back to the States. And that's what I'm saying. Girls bend rules for the guys that they like.
That's a very interesting example. That's crazy. Yeah. Any other comments before we move on to the next one?
I agree with Danny. I think a lot of dating, it's an outliers game, right? When you're pulling girls, you're pulling that 1 out of 10 or whatnot. So I think even in conservative countries, there's going to be pockets of girls that act differently. And I feel like some girls are just genetically dispositioned to be compliant, right? Like, I would say Korean girls are generally more difficult, but I've also met Korean girls that are extremely easy, right? And they're just like, okay, let's go. So like any country, like there's the culture, but I think everybody has their own, like there's plenty of outliers where it doesn't conform to like the general statistics or the average.
Oh yeah, Daniel was talking about abundance. Surely there's no more powerful abundance than being in Asia with so many billions of people. You guys have so much abundance out there. No excuses, okay? But any other comments before we move on to the next one?
I think that if you play the game right and uh, push the right trigger, then I think you can get laid in conservative country as long as they are not like hardcore Muslim, like Saudi Arabia or something like that. So definitely the game play a big role. How you are playing the game, how you are escalating the girl, and then like logistics and everything, and then it is definitely like possible in India also and in Asian countries also. Yeah.